Hello, my name is Boyd Myers, and what I'm going to do with today's video is just give some general information for people that have signed up for their first Ironman triathlon, or for people that are considering signing up for one. Keep in mind, I have a 17-year-old son that's in the house right now that loves playing electric guitar. I have a crazy coonhound dog that loves to bark, so there could be some distractions in the video, so I want to apologize in advance. See if we can get through this smooth. Now, I am following along with an outline here that I've made. There's a lot of information that I want to cover. If you would like a copy of this outline, feel free to reach out to me. You can hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at Boyd Myers, or you can follow me on Facebook. Shoot me a message at facebook.com/IronmanBoyd. I know I talk fast, and I'm liable to fly off on a tangent at any point. So hopefully the outline will keep me on the path from point A to the finish line. Okay, so bear with me. A lot of information I want to cover. I work with a lot of clients, more like mindset coaching, and we go over goals and strategize how to reach particular goals. And one of the big things that I see a lot of is people, and I guess a lot of it's because they come to me because they know I've finished an Ironman triathlon, is they want to do it. It's an awesome journey. A lot of people that I follow on Twitter and on Instagram, they are either A, they've done it, or B, they're signed up for one and they're preparing to do one. And I just love the sport. Who am I? Well, I am a military veteran. I used to own a gym. I've done some form of personal training for the better part of 20 years, most of my adult life. I'm 45 now, I'll be 46 in March. At about 37, 38 years old, I just walked away from fitness altogether. Started eating like shit, quit exercising, started drinking a whole lot, got depressed, was walking around at about 275 pounds. And then when I turned 42, I kept it up for most of that time. In December of 2018, a few months before I turned 43, I decided, you know what, no more. I'm done with this nonsense. I want to go back to stop. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Okay, so I decided, hey, let me go for a run. We'll start with that. I made it less than a quarter of a mile. 42 years old, I thought I could go out and I'd be able to run 5 or 6 miles. I couldn't even run a quarter of a mile. I was ashamed. So the next logical step was, I need something to challenge me. Ultimately, I signed up for an Ironman. Just telling that part of the story doesn't make a lot of sense, but if you dig deeper into it and I tell you my entire story, you'll find out that I couldn't run a quarter of a mile, but I hadn't run a mile in a decade. I had never been on a road bike in my life. Last time I had ridden a bike of any kind, I was probably 15, and it was a freestyle bike or BMX bike or something like that. I hadn't swam a lap in 25 years, and I was never a good swimmer. I struggled. It was always hard for me. I didn't like being around other people, and I had never done any serious open water swimming. Anything that I had swam before was something I just forced. And just did out of sheer will. Form was terrible. So to say that I have a background in swimming would be a total lie. Okay. So again, I signed up for the race that would not only challenge me, but would completely change me. And in my opinion, it has. So what is an Ironman triathlon? Well, an Ironman triathlon consists of a 2.4 mile open water swim, a 112-mile bike ride, and you finish the day off with a marathon, a 26.2-mile run. It's said that it is the hardest one-day endurance challenge. And from someone that has run ultras and has done some pretty crazy endurance events here in the last few years, I would say that's pretty accurate, right? Because you're not only battling the miles and on a course with a few thousand other people. You're fighting a course, you're fighting Mother Nature as well. So there's a lot of different challenges that can come out during the race. But to cross that finish line, and in my case, to hear Bob Riley say, Boyd Myers, you are an Ironman, is just unforgettable. And again, it is life-changing. So if you've signed up for an Ironman, let me be the 100th person, or 1,000th person, or the first person to congratulate you and say, welcome to something for me that has become sort of an obsession. Now, I am never, ever going to be a professional triathlete or a professional Ironman. The sport, the event means a lot to me, and I'm touched and inspired when I follow other people's journeys on social media, or those that are close to me, when they decide, hey, I think I'm going to become an Ironman. In my case, I got to do my first race with one of my best friends. He found out I was doing it, decided, hell, man, I'm going to do it with you. I finished before him. Sorry, Chris. And I was fortunate enough to be still in the box of the area when he finished, and I was able to put his medal on. Okay, so without further ado, let me get on with it. So if you've signed up, hey, you've got 17 hours to finish the race. One thing I want to start with is there are cutoff times. Okay, you have to be out of the water. You have a timing chip. Okay, and that tracks your moves, and it also it keeps up with your time. It also keeps you posted on the Ironman app, so your friends and your family can watch, can see how you're doing from wherever they're at. Okay, but once you start, you have 2 hours and 20 minutes to finish the swim. Okay, so I'm going to use 7 o'clock as the time for everything. If you go under the water at 7:10, it's obviously going to go back 10 minutes. So keep that in mind. By the time you enter the water, you have 2 hours and 20 minutes. Okay. You go through transition, and then the next thing is you get on the bike for a 112-mile bike ride. From the time, you basically have a combined time of 10 and a half hours to go into the water and then get off of the bike. So conceivably, we're talking about 5:30 p.m., okay? And that's how much time you have to finish the rest of the race. Now, there are cutoffs in each event, okay? Not in the swim. You've got 2 hours, 20 minutes flat. However, on the bike ride, I think you have to be at, I had it written down, about 93 by 4:15 p.m., okay? On the run, I think you have to cross mile 20 by 10:30. So it means you would have 90 minutes to do the last 6.2 miles, okay? So the breakdown of time, people think, they just have 17 hours to go do it all. No, you technically don't, okay? But, I mean, as long as you're moving forward, you should be okay, okay? Race week, let me start with that. In most cases, an Ironman race is held in different locations all over the world. Unless you're fortunate enough to live in a place that hosts an Ironman, you probably are going to have to travel. I mean, keep in mind, I'll keep that real simple. I mean, some people go out there, 2 weeks earlier, make a vacation out of it. Some people get there just a couple of days before the race. In my case, my first Ironman was in Tempe, Arizona. I live in North Texas, just north of Dallas. So I wanted to get out and acclimate with land. I decided to drive because I was taking so much stuff. My bike, I didn't feel safe shipping it at that point. I liked the idea of me having control of it, not having to worry about getting out there and getting anything tuned up again, because how it was handled in shipping and all that. So I went out a few days earlier. I wanted to acclimate. I wanted to feel Tempe weather. I wanted to just be in the moment. I wanted to enjoy Tempe and see Arizona. I wanted an opportunity to relax and get my mind right, be out there, be away from my day-to-day life, okay? My next race, for example, is in Cozumel, Mexico. Now, I'm not traveling with my bike. I am actually sending it there. I am a bit nervous about it. I'm pretty protective over my tri-bike. And I'm probably going to get there 3 or 4 days early again, because the climate in November in Cozumel, Mexico is quite a bit different than the climate here in North Texas. I know a lot of people, Popular Race, for example, and a lot of people that I follow on Twitter are signed up, and they're all over the country. They're signed up for Ironman Florida. My recommendation would be get there a little earlier, right? Because northern Florida, I think it's in Panama City Beach. It's a little different than pretty much the rest of the country, okay? I love the environment around an Ironman race, whether I'm racing it or not. There's a huge expo. I want to say it starts on Wednesday. It's so energetic. There's such a buzz. The athletes are walking around. There's great photo opportunities. You see a lot of the sponsors, and there's some cool stuff there. But it's the environment, right? Race week is here, something you've prepared for. For me, I was going from couch potato to Ironman in 11 months, right? So to be able to get there and to kind of be in the arena, man, that was so exciting. So I love the buzz of the expos. Whenever I need to get the bug, or I'm not completely feeling it, like, man, I know I need to start prepping. I know I need to pick a race or whatever. 5-minute expo and get to it, right? It looks like the world's back to normal now. So, I think, there'll be more races without any kind of limitations on the expo. So get out there, check it out. I'd recommend getting to it earlier in the week, because as you get close to your race, you're going to want to relax and rest and get your mind right. Check in. Don't miss it, right? You'll check in probably, I think, Thursday. It depends on what group you're in. You'll know when you can check in if you're like just an age group or just a regular Joe signing up. You check in. That's when you get your race day schedule. You'll get your one of the final maps of the course, and they'll give you your bags. I'm going to cover that here in a second. And also too, just some last minute information. You'll get your timing chip, that kind of that I mentioned that tracks you. Okay. And they'll give you your time for your bike check-in. If there's going to be a warm-up swim, they'll tell you about that. They'll tell you when the athlete briefings are. And that's where you get your information for the race. And that's when it's real. You get your number too, okay? You're going to get your number. And that's when it's completely real. Now, you're not just signed up and spent thousands of dollars of training, of travel, and for the race itself. Now, it's a real thing, right? There's like a bit of finality to that part, okay? Typically, the day before, and again, it varies by race, you're going to do your bike check-in. Again, different coaches, different people are going to have different recommendations. I get my bike set up, and I, make sure, just kind of real quick over, make sure there's no final tunes need to be done. Anything that I can detach from my bike, I do. I don't leave my water bottles overnight. That's disgusting, right? I fill those up the morning of. I take all the air out of my tires. There's plenty of pumps around, so the next morning, you get the opportunity to get your bike ready, to put your drinks in, to top off your water. If you've got a hydration system that's on your aero bars, whatever you need to do, you have plenty of time to do it, assuming you get up in time and show up on at the race where you're supposed to. So you kind of say goodbye to your bike. Some people cover their bikes up. Mine's right here and I'm looking at it. I'm talking about my bike and looking at it. Some people, they cover them up with different things. Just kind of depends on where you're at. If weather is threatening, I would absolutely recommend that. But that's case by case. Typically also the day before, you're going to have the opportunity to do a warm-up swim, and that's live on the course. Okay. I would recommend it. If you're a comfortable swimmer, you're a competent swimmer, then you may not have any desire to, but you get to feel the water temperature. You get to kind of be there where the race is going to be, and you just kind of get the mind right. Now, I got kicked in the face during my warm-up swim, and I thought I broke my nose. It was really bloody, but I was like, holy shit, of course, what's the worst thing that could happen? I get injured in that. Day before, again, aside from the checking in and the warm-up swim, I would kind of stay off my feet. I mean, remember, hydration is so important, and I'm not getting into nutritional strategy and all that, but hydration is a 24-hour process, right? So it's important to stay hydrated the day before, because that's what's going to play a huge influence on how you feel during the race. The night before, rest, relax, go to bed early, okay? I'm not the pre-test jitter guy. I tend to be able to relax and rest, and I kind of stick to my same schedule. I go to bed early as hell anyway. But it's totally normal to be nervous, okay? It's totally normal to not be able to completely relax, all right? Just do your best. Everybody's going through the same thing, okay? With that being said, now I'm going to give a little bit of training advice. I kept that in mind, and I probably wasn't going to sleep for shit the night before. Okay, so on days when I woke up and I had trouble sleeping, at that time, my little girl was a very small baby. If I was awake in the middle of the night by her, by my crazy dog that'll just randomly bark in the middle of the night because he wants to go out or he needs water or something, I got up anyway tired, and I always trained tired if I got the opportunity, because I figured that was going to simulate the actual day. Now, in my case, I was on the campus of Arizona State. So the night before, I'd watched my beloved Tennessee Volunteers win. Believe it or not, they won that night. And then Arizona State beat Oregon at their homecoming, right? That just happened to be the same weekend as Ironman. And after I just nodded off, fireworks started going off, right? And in my mind, I was like, hey, those are for me, right? So didn't let it bother me. I slept pretty well. Morning of, do everything you can to stay calm. Same routine, right? You know, you've already got your nutrition plan set up. For me, I followed the same routine for weeks going into it. So I kind of knew, you know, I just didn't change anything. Again, hydration. One thing that I'd recommend is be patient with your team, okay? You've got your friends, your families, your spouses. They're going through it too, all right? Keep that in mind. It's easy to snap and to yell because your nerves, and you've got an excuse, but be kind, okay? Be patient. They're worried for you, and they've probably been through a whole hell of a lot to get you to this point. An Ironman can be a marriage killer, so keep that in mind. They're on that course with you too. They may not be on that bike, may not be in that water, but their emotions and their hearts, they're with you. Okay, so stay kind to them. You get over to the course. You're going to do your final gear check-in. That's when you're going to turn your special needs bags in. I'm going to go over each bag with you. So you turn all your stuff in. You're going to wear warm clothes, and then you're going to get ready to swim, okay? So your warm clothes, the ones you take off, if you do that, are the ones you're going to those are going to go in your dry clothes bag, okay? Those are the ones you're going to put on at night, right? So good opportunity again, jackets, whatever, compression socks, what have you, put them in that bag, okay? So you have 5 bags. You get those 5 bags at check-in. Your first bag is your T1 bag, or your bag from the water to the bike. You have a bike special needs bag that you'll have access to at the halfway point of the bike. You have your T2 bag, which is from the bike to the run. You'll have your run special needs courses, which is about the halfway point of the marathon. And I'm going to go over all those bags for you. Okay, so the first one is coming out of the water. Okay. In almost every race, there's some form of shower. So if you're in a wetsuit, in my case, in Arizona, the water was 58 degrees, I think. That was definitely a wetsuit race. Cozumel was not a wetsuit legal race. So I'll be wearing what's called a swim skin. If you've ever put on a wetsuit, you're going to learn they're restricted. They're tough to get on and off for a lot of people. So there's volunteers that are ready to help you get them off. Let them help you, okay? You trying to get out of that damn thing is precious time, energy. You'll panic, right? You're just swimming 2.4 miles. Let somebody help you take your wetsuit off, okay? You can let the water hit you, get fresh water. I had a towel in my T1 bag. I dried. I took my time. I put on my most comfortable cycling kit I had. I did the chamois butter. I looked because I got some sitting right there. I put it on. I put as much on as possible. I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in transition. I took my sweet ass time, right? Got hydrated up, ran out, got on the bike. Okay. Now I saddled up. I had all the stuff that I could possibly need. Now on my bike, I have 2 bottle cages, and I also have a hydration system that goes on my aero bars, right? So on my bike, I can keep, I want to say, 80 ounces of fluid, probably. I don't know. I probably should know that, but I don't. But I also, you can trust the course if you want. There are aid stations spaced out on the bike, 10 to 20 miles apart. I try to rely on them as much as possible, but also I use those. Hey, that's where I top off my water or whatever fluids, that I may need. Typically, the sponsored drink's going to be what's on the course. In my case, it was Gatorade Endurance, and they had goo gels. Okay. At that race, that's what I actually used for hydration and for energy for a lot of it. So for me, it wasn't a big deal. My next race, I did that first race plant-based, but on that day, I used a lot of the different supplements. This next race, I'm going straight carnivore, and I'm not going to be carbing up. So I'm going to be dependent upon using my own stuff for a lot, okay? Again, salt tabs and such, those are things that you're probably going to want to have. In my special need, I also in my T1 bag, I also had, I think I had Motrin, had some other little things. I had some Pepto just in case, man. You just don't know. 112 miles is a hell of a bike ride, okay? People do have GI issues, fortunately, in endurance sports. I don't. I never have, knock on wood. Sure, it'll happen at some point. But just be prepared. That's the key. Put dry socks on and everything, right? So your special needs bags, which are the halfway point of the bike and of the run, okay, you may or may not need those. I go ahead and load stuff up. Keep in mind, you're not getting anything back out of that. So once you turn it in, whatever you don't take is gone, okay? Assume it's ended up in the trash. Some people are like, no, you can get them if you end up at this point at this time. Pardon my language. Fuck that. Don't depend on that. You know, you put in there what you need, but don't put in there anything you don't mind to lose. I knew that as the morning turned in to early afternoon, it was going to warm up. I didn't want to wear a jacket on the bike. I wore thermal sleeves, something that were easy to just take off. I could put them with my kid, and if I lost them, I lost them. I actually did keep them, and I've still got the set that I used at Ironman. I went ahead. I had everything that I could possibly need for my bike. I had backup things for my hydration kit. I actually had extra lids for my Camelback bottles, just in case, right? Now, again, I didn't need them, but they were going to me. I had an extra flat changing kit. I had my little thing on my bike that had a couple in it, just in case. I wasn't going to not become an Ironman because I didn't have everything I needed, okay? I was fortunate enough. I'm very fortunate as far as never getting flats. I do pay a lot of attention to my tires and the air pressure. But you just never know. And I know there were a lot of people that day. There's one guy I talked to later on. He had 3 flats on the bike. So you just never know. And I saw a lot of people outside of the aid stations getting flats. So I figured there must be cactus needles or something around that area. So hey, I basically just said, you know what, I'm going to minimize that. I was prepared to pee on myself on the bike in the last 25 miles if I needed to go to the bathroom. Fortunately or unfortunately, depends how you look at it, I never had to do that. Okay, on my first Ironman, so you finish the bike, you come into this tunnel, like a little tube tunnel, and people are going batshit crazy, telling you. I mean, you're 2/3 of the way done as far as the event goes, but that marathon's a long. I mean, people train their whole lives to run a marathon, and you're doing it after swimming 2.4 miles and then biking 112. Right, and that was my first marathon. I don't know that I'd ever run more than 15 miles at once. I don't think I had. Maybe I did. But I know I'd never done it like organized. So you go, what I did, okay, I took my time. I got my bearings. I calmed down on the bike. I think I did my first Ironman at about 6 hours on the bike. Next time my goal was 4.5, right? But the last 10 miles, I was stretching out. I was getting ready, okay? Go into transition. I put the best running stuff I had on, right? I took my time again, changed socks again. I think I ate another peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I got comfortable, dried off as much as possible. I think I topped off my sunscreen. Again, assume you're going to need it, right? Loaded my kit up with, I think I put Motrin in it, so I had put some more salt tabs. I just want to make sure I was prepared, right? Some people carry a hydration flask. Some people don't. I personally like to, just again, because I don't want to depend on an aid station. Now, during the COVID area, I know there were some issues where I guess aid stations were running out of stuff. I assume that can happen. I assume it will happen. So I like to be as prepared as possible. I mean, you're going to, over a 26.2 mile race, I don't care what the temperature is, you're going to sweat and you're going to need hydration. So it's important to just basically control what you can control. Okay. The special needs bag for the run. This one is near and dear to me. I had put an old fleece in there. Okay. And I put some jersey gloves, some shitty $2 gloves in there just in case. I put another pair of socks in there as well. Now, I was having hot spots on my feet. I'd never had that before, but I was having hot spots on my feet. I decided not to change socks because I was convinced that the bottom of my feet were hamburger meat. Fortunately, they weren't, but I didn't change socks. But that was something I had. I had a set of socks ready to go. I did take the fleece and put it on. I put those gloves on. As the sun went down in Arizona, I'd been sweating all day. My electrolyte balance was probably a little bit off as well. So I got very, very cold when the sun went down. And I hadn't had an issue with that. I guess I'd been sunburned all day a little bit, been out in the sun, and all of a sudden it was cool. It became chilly. So that fleece made that, so much more bearable. Okay. I also put a little treat in there for myself. And a lot of people do this. I saw one guy take a shot of wild turkey. Me, I wasn't quite that brave. I had a tube of vanilla Oreos, right? And the goal was, hey, I can just enjoy these on the trip, on the run. I didn't. for some reason, I was like, you know what? I don't need them. I'm all right. But I had them, and I was excited about them. Last 13 miles, man, it went by. It was crazy. Part of it was like, man, it's the longest 13 miles ever. But I remember ticking it down. I remember thinking, like, 12 to go, 8 to go, 6 to go, 5. Hell, I've run 5 miles a million times. How many 1 mile runs? How many 2 mile runs? So it was great. Taking it off. I met a guy there on the course. He and I we're still friends on Facebook. Mike, what's up, my man? Taught me through it. It was his 5th race, my first. His fiance was on the course with him. I got to know the guy real well. Along the roads of the marathon, there's gonna be people cheering, talking. It's that energy transfers. You're gonna see other people out there. You're gonna see people in different levels of where you're at. People are gonna be struggling. People are gonna be killing it. It's and you're part of that. Okay. One thing I didn't mention is Ironman's one of the few sports where you're on the course at the same time with the professionals. And I think that's a really, really cool thing. Now, I didn't know any professionals when I did mine, but I've become a fan of the sport since then, and I'm aware of them. And not many sports do that. Now, you only see them maybe in passing because they're way the hell out in front. They usually start about 30 minutes before everybody else. But it's a neat thing knowing they're out there doing the same course you're doing. There's no real handicap, right? They're not doing a harder course or a shorter course or a longer course. They're doing the same course you're doing. So that's a cool aspect. As you get closer, you're going to start hearing, the chute going into an Ironman. And I know you can't see the picture there in the middle. That's me coming through that. It's like a stadium setup. There's the red carpet. There's the big marquee that has the time on it, and the lights are bright. And there's people going absolutely bananas. Before you're getting there, you can hear it for miles, right? But right before we got there, we were close. I was watching my watch. I knew I was about the 26-mile mark. I stopped. I found there was a porta potty that had a little water station. I splashed water on my face, dried my face off, made sure I didn't have any shit hanging from my nose. Got prepared, right? Because you run down that chute, take your time, savor it, okay? This is the pictures you see the finish line, okay? No reason to sprint down that damn thing unless you're competing. It's your 100th one and you're competing for the world championship and you're tied with your partner there. Take your time, get a great picture, because that memory, I'm choking up talking about it. That memory will never, ever leave you, okay? You come off, you get your medal. They put it on your neck. My first one's right back here behind me in my little shadow box with the actual kit that I wore. And from that moment on, you're an Ironman. And I ask people all the time, what do you call someone that finishes an Ironman triathlon in 16 hours and 59 minutes? You call them a fucking Ironman, okay? On your first one, hey, look, everybody's got different goals. My first goal was to finish. My next one, I plan on doing it in sub 11 hours. I'm going to get as close to 10 hours as possible on it. The first one, I just wanted to finish it. And get this tattoo that I have on my left calf, okay? So you come through the gate. You're going to change. They're going to wrap you up in one of those shiny, like aluminum foil style blankets to keep you warm. In most cases, and I guess, during the spring and summer, I guess some of them are hot. You don't want any desire for that. Start the recovery process. There's usually food. There's pizza, there's burritos or whatever, what have you, at the finish line. Start doing, whatever you do to start the repair process, because your body's in dire straits in most cases. Okay? And again, this may have changed since COVID, but most races offer you a complimentary massage after the race. Take that. That's going to start the repair process immediately. It's the best massage you've ever had. The young lady, and I'm a self-admitted massage whore, okay? The one I had was amazing. She's like, yeah, she knew exactly where I was hurting. The same place probably everybody's hurting, but she could tell. She's like, yeah, your hips and your hamstrings are tight, and they were, and she broke that up. Felt amazing. I actually fell asleep during a hard, painful massage, and I slept the entire time. I think it was about a 30-minute massage. It was amazing. Went home, caught up on social media. Man, it's a lot of emotions just came back, right? Thanked everyone that supported me, and I crashed out. Now, the next day, my feet were massacred, okay, on my first one. Since then, my feet have gotten a little tougher. So you're in pain, okay? It's totally normal. Do your recovery stuff, right? Get up and move around. That's going to help you. I would suggest not traveling the day after. Do what you want to do. Do whatever you think. If you got to get back to work, you got to get back to work. But if you have the opportunity to take an extra couple of days off, I would highly recommend it. I stayed in Tempe, Arizona, went out to eat, hung out with my buddy who was with me. He and I were riding back together. The big part of it is the morning after, that's when you go down to the expo ground. That's when you go down to the site and you get to buy your finisher gear. It's not free, okay? But you get to get your finisher jackets, there's shirts, there's different things. And at that, everybody's wearing their medals. It's a special time, and there's stuff that's available. And I almost said, hell with it, I'll get it online. Trust me, that stuff gets eaten up. Go get it. Walk down there. You're going to regret if you don't get, your Ironman jacket or your whatever, shirt or whatever. Travel, again, that next day, be patient, right? Your team, they got you there. They helped you. Be kind to them while you're, let them savor it. Keep in mind, it's an emotional roller coaster for everyone involved. So be patient. Be patient on your traveling. Me and Chris were ready to fight the entire time, which is funny because we're not like that. We're both, ultra competitive and such. But man, on the way back, we were at each other's throats. But we're fine now. A couple tips. Okay, first off, be proud that you're there. Okay, smile on the course. Smile. It's a huge accomplishment just to get there. Hell, I was scheduled to race last year, and then 7 weeks before, I came down with COVID, and it turned into pneumonia. I was in bad shape, right? I didn't get the opportunity to race last year. I'm making the best of that because it gave me extra time to get in just incredible cycling and running and swimming shape. But getting there is an accomplishment. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong when you train as much as you train preparing for an Ironman. Trust your work. Okay, this is tough. It's because again, you don't know what you don't know. You're going to get around people that know a whole hell of a lot more about training. They've hired professionals for every discipline and a triathlon coach on top of it, and they're going to be talking about all this training stuff. They're going to be asking you about your FTP and all this and this and this. It's okay not to know that shit. It's okay, right? I know my stuff now, but then, hey, I didn't. People are talking about, hey, this is how you go out and take your time and this and this and this, and then you put it down. You want to race this pace. Listen, just trust your work, okay? If you've trained at that level and you understand all that data and that information, that's okay. But if you haven't, just trust that you've done enough, okay? And if you haven't, there's nothing you can do at that point, okay? The big thing, you always hear this, nothing new on race day. I had always swam with an extra set of goggles in my wetsuit. I didn't swim that day, so I didn't have an extra set, right? I lost my goggles. Don't try any new shoes on race day. Don't try any new nutrition on race day. Don't run in a way you haven't trained. Everything you're prepping for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 months or a year, whatever. Don't try anything new, okay? That's absolutely insane to do that. Trust the training, trust your coaching, and, don't try shoes or do anything. Just keep everything the same, okay? Trying something new on race day can be a disaster. Run your race. Don't run anyone else's race, man. You're going to be pumped up when you enter that water, and you're going to think you're Michael Phelps or the dude with a mustache, Mark Spitz. You're going to think you're that guy. You're not, okay? Don't worry about staying in front of the pack, right? There's a swarm. You're going to get kicked. You're going to get pushed, right? I personally look for cleaner water, and I just put my head down and go. Relax, okay? Get your breath, calm, relax. One thing about the swim is there are kayaks and canoes all along the ways. If you need a break, you're welcome to stop on them, okay? You can use any stroke you want. Freestyle is the more efficient and the fastest, but you can backstroke if you want. But you can stop, okay? As long as you're not using that to move forward, all right? So you're not out there for 2.4 miles without the ability. If you cramp up, you've got help, right? If you need to get your breath, if you need to adjust your goggles, your swim cap or whatever, your wetsuit, something's going on with that, stop, okay? It's not the end of the world. You got plenty of time. As long as you just keep moving forward, 2 hours, 20 minutes should be plenty enough, right? I see a lot of people at the start of Ironmans, they blow out, they panic, they freak the fuck out. There were about 3,000 people in the water with me, and it's overwhelming. I posted the pictures a bunch, and it was scary. The water was cold. I didn't have goggles, but hey, once I got just talked myself down, it was easy after that point. And I still don't like to swim. I like it more than I used to like it, but I'm never going to be a professional swimmer, but I can survive a race. All right. Savor it. It's a special, special day, and there's never going to be another first time. Okay. I can't wait for my next races, my next ultras. Those are all amazing, but the first time is like no other. Okay. When you actually become an Ironman, it's an elite fraternity to join, and it's the coolest club ever. During the race, thank the volunteers, thank the people that are cheering for you. Smile, thank you. Hey, it's a long ass day for you. It's a long day for everybody, but it's a really long day for them. They're out there doing it out of the kindness of their heart, right? And they'll mess the handoff up on the bike sometimes for the water and all that. Don't let it bother you, okay? Smile. I still see pictures of me, and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know I was getting a picture taken. And I'm cheesing ear to ear. That was the coolest day of my life, the first one. There's just nothing like it. So savor it, enjoy it. It took a lot to get there. And the second you cross that finish line, trust me, it's more than worth it. That's all I've got right now. If you have any questions whatsoever, about Ironman Arizona is one that I'm intimately familiar with. But anything triathlon related, again, training, defer to your coach or whatever. I'll answer general questions, but out of respect to triathlon coaches everywhere, I'm not going to look over your program for you and critique it. Okay, if you're paying for that, trust them. All right, don't ask some guy on YouTube or Twitter. But that's all I got. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. If you have any questions, again, hit me up on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Boyd Myers, Facebook, facebook.com/IronmanBoyd. Good luck.